Maxine Waters has crossed a dangerous line, advocating for mob-style politics, calling for attacks and violence against all Trump officials. Waters is openly encouraging her supporters to fight back against the Trump administration amid backlash over the White House's zero-tolerance immigration policy, and said the people will absolutely harass Trump staffers. Waters told supporters at a rally in Los Angeles on Saturday, "If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out, and you create a crowd, and you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere." She claims she wanted history to record that we stood up, that we pushed back, that we did not consider ourselves victims of this president. History will record that, while he tried to step on all of us, we kicked him in his rear, and we stepped on him. In an interview with MSNBC, the California congresswoman defended her violent and potentially riot-inducing rhetoric by saying current administration officials who defend President Trump know what they're doing is wrong and they soon will not be able to peacefully appear in public without being harassed. Waters was adamant the protests would continue until cabinet members begin to withdraw their support from President Trump and publicly denounce him, stating, "No, I can't hang with you. This is wrong. This is unconscionable. This is quite literally one of the most irresponsible and dangerous statements anyone could have made, let alone a so-called Democrat leader currently serving in Congress." How exactly does Waters think this is going to shake out? Her comments come as White House officials have been the targets of protests amid the continued backlash incited by the pictures of so-called caged children that happened under the Obama administration have gone viral after being falsely attributed to the Trump administration. Despite the Obama administration being known to have routinely separated illegal migrant families and is currently being sued for keeping children in brutal conditions, and despite the fact that Time magazine tried to pass off a fake picture of a separated migrant child who was never separated from her mother in a concerted effort to propagandize the Trump administration's immigration policy, which even noted fake news purveyor CNN called them out on, leftist mobs are now targeting members of the Trump administration, notably female members of the administration specifically. Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen was confronted by an angry mob at a Mexican restaurant in Washington on Tuesday night and on Friday was taunted outside her townhouse in Virginia. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders was asked to leave a restaurant in Virginia after the co-owner said it has certain standards that I feel it has to uphold, such as honesty and compassion and cooperation. As the National Review notes, does she think this tactic will be used only by leftist protesters, only against Trump cabinet officials, and that in no circumstance will pushing back at them lead to violence against those targeted individuals? Does she think that there is no possible scenario where the security details assigned to protect cabinet officials from harm respond to threatening behavior with force? Does she think that there's a scenario where the cabinet officials, the president, and his supporters, in general, decide that because so many leftists are angry, they had better change their minds and their policies? Does she envision a near future where Trump and the right, in general, avoid policy proposals that offend or anger leftists out of a fear of being targeted for pushback that will make them unwelcome anywhere? The only counter-evidence for these scenarios is the entirety of human existence and the complete history of angry mobs. Angry mobs are not discerning or careful. They do not distinguish between their initial target and anyone who happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. There has been a significant backlash against Waters with her inflammatory rhetoric, noting that it is especially dangerous to call for public attacks at a time in our country when leftist progressives, cultural Marxists, socialists, and communists are running rampant, inciting the public with fake news and violent propaganda. Many Americans believe under the circumstances, censure is not enough for Waters and she should face expulsion for her attempts to incite violence that will not just stop at Trump officials. A petition has been started on We the People as of Monday morning and in just a few hours has already garnered several thousand signatures. The petition states it's time for Maxine Waters to go. Waters has crossed a dangerous line, calling for attacks and violence against all Trump officials. What Waters said when she called on Americans to push back against Trump officials and make it impossible for them to shop, eat out, or go to gas stations is one of the most irresponsible statements anyone could have said, let alone a so-called Democrat leader. It is especially dangerous to call for public attacks at a time in our country when liberals are so wildly unhinged and violent, have no control over their emotions, and are brainwashed by fake news and hoodwinked by lying, sleazy politicians like Maxine Waters. Under the circumstances, censure is not enough for Maxine Waters. Waters should face expulsion for what she's done. Please consider adding your name to the petition to hold Maxine Waters accountable for her attempts to induce violence.